I've tried to find an example of someone who smashed their launch right out of the gate, doing everything perfectly. But outside of major brands with millions of dollars in funding, literally zero examples came to mind. That's probably because the purpose of the launch isn't to put you on the map everywhere, but just to get the wheels turning. The hundreds of people who have used my work to become seven-figure entrepreneurs have almost always started from scratch, crawled their way to the starting line, launched with moderate success, and grown from there. The launch gave them the momentum they needed to start growing. I have a student named Anthony. His first product was a baby carrier. He went from being dead broke, working 3 jobs at once, having no time with his kids, to launching his first product. Within 18 months, he was a full-time entrepreneur. When I tell you that, the assumption I just created is that he had such a good launch that it skyrocketed him to 7 figures. That's not quite how it happens. I often find that people have a misconception, believing that if they get the launch right, they'll automatically be everywhere. This idea of 1, 2, skip a few, launch and you're a millionaire isn't how it happens. The launch is still the beginning of the process, and now you have to have sales and momentum to be able to grow something. Remember, you're still in the grind. Anthony had a fine launch, but his biggest strength was that he was methodical about the process. He had 3 to 5 products in mind. He had stacked the deck. He launched one product, stoked the fire, and carefully repeated the process the same way for products 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can't skip steps and put all your eggs in the launch basket. Success comes from executing upon every little step along the way, not just the flashiest one. The $1 trillion marketplace. You may launch on Kickstarter or use Shopify to fulfill some of your orders, but most entrepreneurs find the best opportunities on Amazon.com. Amazon is the biggest marketplace in the world, and the company is valued at over $1 trillion. It's important to understand that the process in this book is the same no matter what platform you're on. But for a beginner, there's really nothing easier or more straightforward than selling on Amazon. As your brand builds momentum after your launch, Amazon will reward you with social proof and free customers. Once you prove that you can bring customers to Amazon, it becomes your own marketing machine, putting you in front of millions of potential buyers. You will start to rank for keywords. You might start to appear on some of their advertising pages for free. You might get a new release or hot new release or bestseller badge, which will drive up conversions. Lastly, you will start to get reviews, which can make or break your brand. One of my students, Nathan, recently surpassed 60 units a day within the first 3 months of his launch. How? Just by following this process. Why? Because the Amazon marketing machine saw the strength of his activities and turned on in his favor. You've probably seen the section on Amazon labeled frequently bought together. As your friends and other people buy your product, Amazon starts looking at what they've bought before. When this marketing machine kicks in, it shows your product on the listings of other similar products. That's free advertising. There are a few tricks that you can use to show up more often on Amazon. We'll cover a few of them in the next chapter. But one mistake people make is allowing Amazon to determine the direction of their business. You have it backward if you're deciding what products to release based on what you think will sell well on Amazon. Build a business for your customers and let the ease and scale of Amazon handle everything else. The biggest opportunity of selling on Amazon is that the platform rewards momentum. The more momentum you can build, the more that momentum will accelerate. How do you build that momentum? Loving on your audience, getting reviews, engaging your customers. Don't discount the supreme importance of speaking directly to the people buying your product. Some people think that they can stack the deck with fake reviews on Amazon bought through review farms. This ploy misses the point. You're not trying to get sales. You're trying to build a brand. If you're only focused on manipulating the algorithm, then you're not focused on what matters, your customers. This is why I cringe when people say they have a, quote, Amazon business. You don't have an Amazon business. You have a business that takes sales on Amazon.com. It's easy to compare yourself to other similar businesses that also live on Amazon. But as a result, you will be tempted to make your pricing decisions and even your next product releases based on what your direct competitors are doing. One of the most difficult things for a first-time business owner to understand is that competitors don't matter nearly as much as you think. Have you ever seen the picture of Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps seconds before he defeats Chad Leclos to win yet another gold medal? Next to him, Leclos is looking at Phelps, watching him beat him by less than half a second. The meme reads, "Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners." In business, you win by going all in on your customers. If you focus on trying to beat the winner, the best you can hope for is getting caught up in a price war, which is a race to the bottom. Play your game, let competitors play theirs, and trust the system will take care of itself. In fact, if you're correctly executing this process, you won't even be thinking about the competition. You'll be too busy talking directly to your customers, making sure you have a damn good product, and making sure they have a damn good experience. Don't forget to reorder. In this stage, you're laser focused on sales, reviews, and making your customers happy. What happens when you start making all those sales? You use up a lot of inventory. And what happens as you go through inventory? If you're not careful, you go out of business. Sometimes people are so excited about getting those first sales that they completely forget about reordering. Without product to sell, you're not running a business. You can't take sales, and you're not making any revenue. You should consider reordering much earlier than you think and much sooner than you're going to feel comfortable. You may think, I have 500 units and I'm making 5 sales a day. That means I have 100 days to figure this out. The problem is that the minute a few positive reviews come in and sales jump to 10 a day, you'll only have 50 days of inventory left. And if you keep doing your job, you're going to end up with only 10 days of inventory left. That number will keep shrinking until it gets to 0. That's why you want to order as much inventory as you can stomach at the beginning and order inventory again as soon as you're able. My strategy is to reorder as early as possible, as quickly as possible. A rule of thumb, as soon as you prove your product has life, order the next round of inventory. As soon as your launch is complete or you pass 10 sales per day, start queuing up the next order. I know that running out of stock is the worst thing that can happen because, as you read earlier, it happened to me. I'd like to say it only happened to me once, but it's happened in multiple businesses. It sneaks up on you. It was like starting over again each time we ran out of stock. We had to rebuild buzz, and we lost all the momentum we'd built. I've had products that ran out of inventory but got their momentum back in a couple days. I've also had products that ran out of stock and never regained that momentum. It's just not a risk you want to take. So have a plan to ensure that you never run out of stock. If you do happen to blow through your inventory, it's okay to put people on a waiting list. You just have to perform the process again, and you have to communicate with your customers. I once bought a protein cereal that I found on Instagram. After I'd ordered and paid, they sent me an email saying it was back ordered and it would be delayed. That's not cool. If your inventory is on back order, tell your customers right on the sales page. That information may actually increase sales. Showing you have demand creates social proof, and it may even justify a price hike. If your customers are cool with waiting, you'll get the sale. If they don't want to wait, they're still likely to pay attention when your inventory is in stock again. The key is to let them make their own informed choice, so your brand isn't tainted with the feeling of a bait and switch. Go all in on your customers. It's exciting to see sales coming in for the first time, and it's fun to start calculating the amount of money that you might make if you can sustain the growth. However, since you're in the people business now, you must avoid the critical mistake of thinking it's all about you. Yes, you created a cool product, and you worked hard for this, but now your product is in the hands of other people. Those early customers can become raving fans that give you reviews and tell their friends about you, or they can be the reason why your business stalls out. Once you've got sales for your product, your job becomes treating those customers like gold, knowing that some of them are going to leave reviews. This is the point where I always get a million questions. How do I get reviews? When do I get them? How many reviews do I need? How many reviews do you need? 0. Plenty of people made tons of money before the days of reviews. How many do you want? Simple, as many as you can get. There are multi-million-dollar products out there with thousands of reviews, but there are also multi-million-dollar products with only 100 reviews. Yes, more is technically better, but my philosophy on reviews is that they should confirm a purchase, not be the reason for it. Many Amazon sellers fall into the trap of getting more reviews than the next guy, rather than focusing on creating great products and treating customers well. Reviews are important, but they are far less important than the rest of the formula for getting to $1 million. 3 to 5 products, 25 sales a day, at an average price point of $30. With those numbers, you don't need hundreds of reviews. You just need enough to get past people's bullshit detectors. Continually contributing to the pre-launch community you built is the best way to get buy-in that leads to reviews. Continue to document the growth of your business and the impact your business is making. Continue to bring in the photos that other people post of your product on social media. Take those and highlight them to the rest of your community. By doing this, you continue to build up your community. Celebrate the reviews that you do get. Take screenshots and post them on social media. Send unsolicited gifts to people who leave reviews. Reach out personally to people who talk about your business on social media. Those relationships will create millions of dollars over the long run. Go all in on them. That type of commitment and attention to your customers will foster a community that supports you, loves to leave reviews for your products, and eagerly chooses you over the competition. Then, once in a while, you can go for the ask. Hey, we've just launched this new product and we've been selling for 14 days now. We might even run out of stock at this point, but we really need more reviews to spread the word, to keep pushing this message, and to get more people into yoga or CrossFit or sunglasses or eating pineapple, whatever your group is into. If you have used the product and you love it, please consider leaving us a review on Amazon or Shopify or Walmart or wherever you're taking orders. Reaching a few dozen reviews during your first few months means you have enough reviews to get to 20, 25, or 30 sales a day. You might not have $1 million product, but you'll have enough to get to 25 sales a day, which is your only goal before you repeat the entire process. Remember, all you need is 25 sales a day. Keep your focus tight, and when you get to the point where you've proven your product has enough action in the marketplace, roll out products 2, 3, and 4. Then you continue the journey to $1 million. You might find, however, that a product launch done well takes you straight to the million. That's what happened to my friend Catherine Lavery, co-founder of Best Self Co., a company that helps people become more efficient, focused, and productive. In short, their best selves. Catherine wasn't intending to start the business she did. It came about as an unintended result of scratching her own itch. At the time, my partner and I had our own businesses, she said, and we started an Amazon business on top of everything. We didn't care about that Amazon business. We were selling random stuff, salt and pepper shakers, nothing that mattered to us. We were spread way too thinly. We were just looking for a framework to help us get everything done. We both wrote things down in moleskin notebooks, and we liked to nerd out together on how we'd plan our days out. Eventually, we'd realize that we could design our own productivity framework into something much more beautiful and functional. I designed it, Alan made a prototype, and we decided to launch. Catherine immediately wanted to launch on Kickstarter, but Alan disagreed. He wanted to do a product launch formula, but I wanted to do Kickstarter, so we compromised and did a product launch that turned into a Kickstarter. She continues, crowdfunding is incredible because there's a time limit. People see something they want, your product or the idea of your product, and they see a clock that tells them, we need this much money by this countdown or you're not getting this thing you want. Kickstarter also has shoppers who just back products on the platform. They have 15 million backers, and more than a third of those are repeat backers who come back and back and back to promote products. Product development for Catherine, like any other brand, was a long journey with a lot of changes. She said, quote, we listened carefully to what our customers were saying. We gave journals away for free and took feedback on how it worked for users. When people get to be a part of the development, they feel ownership over it, and they feel part of the success of the company, end quote. Catherine also stacked the deck with an email list she'd been compiling for 3 months through content she'd been putting out on medium.com. When launch day on Kickstarter came, she had the incredible luck of getting tweeted by Arianna Huffington as a boost to their name recognition. Their Kickstarter for the Best Self Co. self-journal was funded in a scorchingly fast 22 hours. Part of their success was how they priced their funding levels to get Kickstarter's platform boost. She said, "The Kickstarter algorithm prefers number of pledges over total amount pledged. So for instance, if you have 10 pledges of $500 and someone else has 1,000 pledges of $5, you've raised the same amount of money, but the other company will have gotten far more attention. We use this to our advantage. We had $1 reward levels on our project, and it skyrocketed us onto the platform. The secret to funding fast is to set up early bird rewards that equal your funding goal. People love getting rewarded for getting in first, and you get funded fast, look successful, and the algorithm loves you. We set it up so we only needed 200 early backers to hit our whole goal. We got it in 2 days. It's not that many people." End quote. Kickstarter's organic traffic is a huge boost, which is why Catherine and Alan put so much focus on getting momentum on the platform. A third of all backers on their project were organic hits from people just browsing Kickstarter. Eyeball's Best Self Co. didn't have to do anything to get. After the launch on Kickstarter, they put a pre-order button on the Kickstarter page, to which they were running no traffic, doing no extra work. Catherine looked at the analytics a few days later and realized that the sales were 3 times what they were doing on Amazon in an entire month. She called Alan and told him she couldn't bring herself to go back to the Amazon business and that she wanted to focus on Best Self Co. He agreed. "Great, we'll shut that business down," she said. No," he replied, "we'll sell it. No need to burn the house down on the way out the door." They went all in on Best Self Co. and their Kickstarter campaign. Then Catherine and Best Self Co. got noticed by Damon John from Shark Tank, and they went from mid-6 figures to $1 million business in 7 months. And that scaling had nothing to do with Kickstarter. "We expanded our product range," Catherine said. "We realized that people who would buy their journal would buy other things to help them with productivity. We remembered watching Shark Tank and thinking about some of the businesses we saw. That's not a business, that's a product. We never wanted to be that, so we focused on diversifying ever since." Catherine's story demonstrates that if you have a great product, you are good to your customers, and you stack the deck toward a great launch, you eventually hit pay dirt, even if it's not in the way you first imagined. Halfway to $1 million. At this point in the process, I like to tell entrepreneurs that they are halfway to their first million. They never believe me, never. So allow me to take a moment to tell you how far you've already come. You are halfway to your first million. How could that be, you ask? We just started taking sales for our product. I'm not doing $500,000 right now. At the moment, that may be true, but you'll be shocked at how fast the snowball starts rolling at this point. Your journey so far has been making decisions, getting your product ready, and taking an order. You've been in the grind. Now we enter the growth period, where your sales start to compound. While everyone is different, many entrepreneurs get to their first million just 6 months from this point. That means that you might be halfway to your first million after all. A few months ago, you hadn't even begun your journey. Maybe you didn't even know what you wanted to sell. Now, you've launched, you're taking sales, and you will soon be getting repeat customers and referrals too. You can actually build $1 million business. I've seen people pace $1 million after 1 or 2 products quite quickly. They go live, then within 3 or 4 months, they have 100 sales a day, which means they've crossed that $1 million run rate. It can happen that fast, but everybody starts at 0. Everyone starts by doubting themselves. Everyone wonders if it's going to work. If you stick with this process, stay devoted to your customers, and watch the power of compounding returns take hold, You can build $1 million business, as hundreds of my students have. You might even build a $1 billion business. But wait, forget $1 billion. How do you get those 25 sales every single day? Keep reading to find out. Entrepreneur Spotlight: Kevin Posco and Jeremy Shirk. Kevin Posco and Jeremy Shirk co-founded Vancouver-based Nested Naturals in late 2013. The company launched in the summer of 2014 with 2 products, Luna, a natural sleep aid, and a Canadian maple syrup. At first, Kevin and Jeremy planned to sell health foods as well as supplements, but building a brand around both maple syrup and sleep aids was proving difficult. After looking at the sales numbers, they quickly decided to focus solely on supplements. They bootstrapped the company with loans from family. Jeremy got an initial $10,000 loan that went into upfront costs, mainly purchasing inventory, but also for label design and building the company website. Once they began to grow, Kevin's mother loaned the company another $10,000. Kevin and Jeremy were focused on one guiding mission for their products: quality ingredients. They wanted honest, transparent products that were natural, organic, and non-GMO. No artificial ingredients ever. This would become the core of their branding, even if they had no idea at the time. The first sale of their Luna sleep aid happened the first day it was put up on Amazon. Kevin and Jeremy's reaction to a single sale: they were ecstatic. Holy shit! Somebody actually bought the thing that we just worked 7 months on. That's what we kept saying, Kevin told me. Even though we'd obviously been working toward that goal, to have it actually work seemed crazy to us. The climb to greater sales was slow at first because the product didn't have a built-in audience and no advertising was put into promoting it. The partners just threw Luna up on Amazon and their website, taking it one day at a time. They had a lot of help in the beginning. Jeremy joined my small mastermind group, which helped remove the unknown. It added to the good foundation of knowledge Jeremy had from being well-versed in internet marketing, online business, and marketing in general. He went into Nested Naturals prepared to do the work, to do whatever it took to make it successful. And with that mindset, success came more quickly than he had planned. It was that ethos and mindset, and staying true to their values, that helped make Nested Naturals what it is today, generating fans and customers who supported the brand. As they grew, Kevin and Jeremy experimented with different ways of building a social audience. They offered coupons, put a URL on their product bottles, and did everything they could to drive customers back to their website. When they got customer information or got them on an email list, they personally followed up. One of their biggest early problems was running out of stock, which happened half a dozen times. The partners were only able to order as much product as they could pay for at the time, which led to overselling, all part of the growing pains of bootstrapping a business. Negotiating terms with suppliers was tough, and it was even tougher when inventory that was supposed to last 2 months sold out in half that time. Despite these growing pains, things got better and moved faster as the company continued to iterate through repeated sales cycles. Eventually, it had enough cash reserves to order as much inventory as needed. 3 months in, we had a lot more sales than we'd anticipated, Kevin said. We were getting probably 1 or 2 dozen orders a day. The company generated $1 million in revenue that first year, mostly from sales of Luna. By the 9th or 10th month, sales had reached a couple $1,000s a day. Kevin and Jeremy found themselves in an odd, relatively rare position. They'd always wanted to have a brand with multiple products, but Luna did so well, they couldn't keep up with its growth, much less launch other products. We realized we had to completely shift our mindset to get the company on track, Jeremy said. The partners had originally intended to split net profits in half. They realized their business would never grow if they didn't reinvest what they made, especially since they didn't want to take on outside investment. So they buckled in for a lean journey. They each took $2,000 a month for the first year, just barely enough to survive. They put everything else they had into launching more products and making them work, even if it meant a year of living like monks. The company's second product was Super Greens, a greens powder used to make nutritional drinks. They put a lot of focus on label design to establish the Nested Naturals brand and turn it into a company offering a variety of natural supplements. The approach, which was probably more labor-intensive than absolutely necessary, was for each product to have its unique branding, label, and colors. Each product was like its own brand with a different look and feel. Doing different designs for different products got people's attention. Down the road, however, this became a problem. People thought each product was from a different company. Even people who knew the partners thought Nested Naturals had started selling for other companies. A switch to a unified brand had to be made. Kevin was afraid that there would be customer pushback on the change, but there wasn't a single complaint. The lesson we learned there was that no one microanalyzes and overthinks branding more than a company's owners, Kevin said. Branding is important, but your customers aren't going to sweat it as much as you do. It wasn't until the company was doing $2.5 to $3 million a year that the partners decided to build out an office and hire employees. They wanted to do what they needed to do to grow bigger and faster. Traditional retail supplement brands generally have up to 500 products, and they were still only selling 10. A former competitor turned friend, who was also the first person the partners met in my mastermind group, gave the partners some great advice. You can't do it alone. Kevin and Jeremy started hiring. They discussed but decided against a remote team, opting to set up office space. Having everyone in one place makes for better communication and culture, as well as greater employee investment in the company, Jeremy said. It was the right move, but the costs were huge. They tried to keep exorbitant Vancouver rents at bay by setting up their office in a 100-year-old building, rather than in one that had just been built. Nevertheless, the company plateaued during the first year after opening its office doors. Sales didn't increase at all. Kevin attributed this to a loss of focus. We were all over the map that year, he said. Should we go into retail, wholesale, sell on Facebook? We needed to go back to the basics. Once they refocused on their core competency, selling natural supplements on Amazon, the company started growing again. Now, 3 years later, they have grown to 4 times the size, pulling in $1 million in revenue each month, with a staff of 15, in addition to several contractors who work remotely. According to Kevin, there are things you can and should do when starting out that can't be done once you get bigger. You can test things out, change your branding, and even change your name. Focus on getting things right when you start out, so that you can then scale smoothly, as opposed to growing as quickly as possible as early as possible, he said. It's equally important to make sure you have someone to handle inventory by the time you expand your line from 1 item to 10. This could be a part-time contractor at first, as long as they have the right experience. And when starting out, don't just chase after revenue. A lot of things can start to break and go wrong once you begin selling more. When you're properly set up to scale, you can focus much more exclusively on selling more and more product. It's important, too, to be careful once you start to succeed. You start looking at ways that you can spend money to grow the business, Jeremy said. That's when you're going to make mistakes if you're not careful. Once you can afford it, you start feeling there's a lot of help out there to take advantage of, but that's not always the case. We went down the wrong road with influencers in particular, thinking, okay, let's throw 10 grand at influencers and see what happens. Of course it's going to work, Jeremy said. It was probably the biggest mistake we ever made. We got maybe $100 back in total sales. What Kevin and Jeremy have discovered is that the best way to grow their business is to stay as lean as possible. With rare exceptions, they've resisted trying to buy their way to growth. They've focused on earning their growth by being as strategic as possible and really thinking issues through. Kevin and Jeremy believe they can reach new levels in this business, which will ultimately create a bigger exit down the line, though they don't have a timeline for that. As long as their hearts are in it and they believe there's more success on the horizon, they're still 100% invested. In fact, instead of looking to be acquired, they're interested in investing and acquiring other companies. There are many different pathways in the entrepreneurial game. The key is to get going. Winners start and move towards something, Kevin said. Losers are paralyzed by inaction. Chapter 8. Step 6. growing to 25 sales a day. In the wake of the 2008 economic crash, women and men in their 20s watched that corporate life they'd been sold come crashing down. As a result, aspiring entrepreneurs across the globe sat unfulfilled, chained to desks. The economy was flat, and the old way to success had collapsed, which stirred entrepreneurial desires among millions of young people itching to go out on their own. One of those 20-somethings was Aubrey Marcus. Like most hustlers, he tried his hand at a few entrepreneurial ventures, and he threw things at the wall to see what would stick. His first attempts? Sex toys and hangover supplements. Neither gave him success or internal fulfillment. "I wasn't ready," he said, looking back. Although his attempts didn't lead him to the freedom he sought, they did show him how to create a product, how to sell, and how to advertise. The process also helped him network with others who could help him along the way. That's what led him to a lunch meeting with Joe Rogan. In the early days of Joe's podcast, which is now downloaded more than 200 million times per month, Aubrey advertised his sex toys on the show, becoming one of Joe's biggest sponsors. "I asked Joe what he was into," Aubrey recalled, and he said, "I'm really into nootropics right now." I told him that I would create the best in the world. What he didn't tell Joe was that he had no idea what a nootropic was, but he promised Joe that he would develop the best one in the world. Aubrey was soon down the product research rabbit hole, reading studies and testing ingredients, until he ultimately formulated the brain supplement Alpha Brain. He gave some of the newly released Alpha Brain to Joe, who loved it so much that he agreed to partner with Aubrey on the new project, named Onnit. As a new owner, he also agreed to talk about it on his podcast. As a result, Joe brought Alpha Brain to his millions of subscribers on a weekly basis. The product quickly sold out, and Aubrey had to scramble to order more inventory. Once the product was back in stock, Joe talked about it on the podcast again, and it sold out again. This cycle continued until the company raised a small amount of money to keep up with the growth. There was no vision for an empire, it was pure entrepreneurial drive. "I was just desperate to make something happen," Aubrey said. Before long, Alpha Brain was the best-selling, brain-enhancing supplement ever. It created a category all on its own, natural nootropics. However, the company was based on the success of just one product. The company was growing and the profit margins were high, but Aubrey knew he needed to release more products if he wanted to be a real brand. "It wasn't until then," Aubrey explained, "that I had a vision for what I was doing and why I was doing it." Onnit soon released New Mood, a serotonin booster made to calm down the brain and help to manage stress, and Shroom Tech, a blend of earth-grown mushrooms. Then the company started selling kettlebells, and battle ropes, and medicine balls, then food, protein powder, and nut butters. The company went hard into podcast advertising, and it worked well for them. They gained national exposure, and it wasn't long before their t-shirts were seen in gyms all over the country. Then they opened a gym. Instead of settling as a brain optimization company, Aubrey sprinted full throttle into becoming a total human optimization company. That included brain, body, and mind. Today, Onnit headquarters in Austin, Texas, is buzzing with jiu-jitsu classes, a full cafe, and more than 100 employees. They continue to be mentioned on the Joe Rogan Experience and many other podcasts, and they have a raving fan base around the globe. Think about a series of products that serve the same person. That's the power of a brand. Welcome to the growth. Few people understand how powerful it is to take an idea from scratch, bring it to life, and make a sale. This is why I say entrepreneurs are the most powerful people on the planet. We literally make things up, make them real, and sell them to other people. Proving you can take an order for a new product validates your idea. It proves it's real. Then it becomes your job to turn that into a machine that now creates predictable sales. Your entire focus in this stage of the process is to create a stream of sales that regularly churns out at least 25 sales per day of your product. You do that by continuing the momentum you created by going all in on your customer, getting excellent reviews, responding to every comment, thanking your customers, connecting with influencers, and continually stoking the fire on a one-to-one basis. Doing all this will get you the reviews, exposure, publicity, and word-of-mouth advertising you need to hit 25 sales per day. When you have a consistent 25 sales per day, you have a machine that can be applied to more products. At that point, you will release multiple products into the machine, and your business will surge past 100 sales per day, giving you the million. Yes, it can happen that quickly. But first, we need to build that machine through the growth. To get there, we need a process to turn a few customers into many. How big can you go? When Matt and I first started selling our sheer strength products, one of my coaches asked me, "How big do you want the business to be?" I'll be honest, the first thing that popped into my head was, what kind of a question is that? Huge, obviously, astronomical, world-obliteratingly massive. But I came up with a concrete answer. 100 sales a day, I said. That would be $1 million business. What are you at now? He asked. 5 sales a day. This was way back before Amazon was the behemoth it is today. This is also before automation tools and influencers were a thing. We did most of our marketing by hand. We called our customers. We talked to our friends, asked them what they thought, and begged for a review if they liked it. We did whatever we could to get reviews, and we celebrated every time a new one came in. 100 sales a day sounded like a pipe dream to me at the time. No one comes out of the gate with a consistent stream of sales. It has to be built. It's not uncommon to start with 20 to 25 sales a day during launch, only to see sales come to a screeching halt once you squeeze every drop of juice out of your launch lemon. To keep that initial momentum going, you need reviews, testimonials, and good old-fashioned advertising. You're going to have to stoke the fire again and again for the next few months, and then strategically launch your follow-up products. Getting to 25 sales a day is not super difficult. The prep to get there is. The good news is you'll have completed most of that by this point. From here, every inch forward creates a compounding return because you begin to experience repeat customers. You have a list and a process, and the whole operation starts to become a machine. Without this prep, however, you can get stuck on how far you are from the magic number, and you'll lose hope. There's no algorithm for going from 5 sales a day to 25 sales a day. It's about building relationships with people, building trust with your customers, and building awareness in the marketplace. That's a brand. When Matt and I were doing our customer support with sheer strength, grinding it out and doing whatever we needed to do to get a review, we were totally lost. Calling customers is putting yourself out there in a big way, and it can be scary, but it's also part of being an entrepreneur. We were just willing to outwork everyone who tried to get in the game at the same time as us. One of my employees once reflected on those early times. She said about me, "When I started working with him, I thought he was this entrepreneur who had all the answers to everything. Then, about a year ago, I realized that Ryan has no idea what he's doing." Okay, that's a little harsh. It's also basically true. We are all winging it in life and in business to some extent. We all think everybody else has it figured out, and believe me, no one does. At best, we're all competent at a few things and guessing our way through everything else. You don't know what's going to happen when you release a product to the marketplace. You don't know what's going to happen when you call a customer. You do know that at some point, you're going to get hateful comments on Facebook, and you're just going to have to get over it. You can ignore it, or you can play with it. Consider having fun with it. After all, it's a sign of success. You will get a negative review, and it will hurt. It will make you want to quit, and it will hurt your sales. It's all part of the process. Look at this like data gathering. If you're too afraid of a few haters to build up a Facebook group, you're really going to suffer when it comes to growing the business past 5 or 10 sales a day. When I was in college, I planned on becoming a pastor. My professors in college prepared me to be ready for criticism. Sure, they meant while we were talking from the pulpit, but products aren't that different. Not everyone is going to like you and what you put out into the world. Someone will always be upset over something you said. It just comes with the territory. That's not to say that every call I made to a customer ended in angry tirades or tears. Occasionally, they'd be pissed, but 9 out of 10 times, they were blown away. Even the people who angrily asked, "Why are you calling me?" were taken aback a bit when I responded with, "I'm the founder of the company, and I just wanted to ensure you had a 5-star experience." That little touch, showing that I was already on the phone, genuinely interested in hearing about their experience, was enough to tip the scales. Addicted to feedback. There may be no formula or magic potion that guarantees sales growth, but I have found certain milestones do lead to a bump in sales. For example, you will see a major bump when you cross 25 positive reviews, and you'll see a bigger bump when you cross the 100 review mark because that means you're the real thing. There is something about seeing 100 people that approve your product, and it crosses the bullshit detector in people's brains. Those first 25 to 50 reviews can be enough to get you over the 25 sales a day mark. 100 will almost certainly do it. Every market is a little bit different, but that's when you have enough in the marketplace to be legit, which often leads to a spike in sales. Again, everybody wants a formula for how long it's going to take to get more sales and to hit those milestones, but it's just not that predictable. You just have to do the work. The first time I launched a product, it took me about 3 months to get to 25 sales a day. Now I can do it in about 14 to 30 days because my customer list is bigger, I have thousands of repeat customers, and my process is more dialed in. You'll get there too. When a customer purchases your product, you can follow up with him or her in one of 2 ways. First, you can reach out and say, "Hey, I hope you like the product. Can you please leave us a review?" Pass. She has better things to do, dude. The second option is to say, "Hey, Natalie, did your order arrive on time? I just wanted to make sure it got there when it was supposed to." That's a give. That's a deposit into your customer's relationship bank account. When Natalie replies that the order did arrive on time, you follow up again. "Great, thanks so much for the feedback. I just credited $10 to your account as a thank you for letting me know. Is there anything else we should know about the brand? What would you like to see us release next?" Natalie is now thinking, "Damn, this company's amazing." Now you're in an exchange. You're building a relationship. You're giving the customer something they love, value, and the thrill of feeling special, but getting so much more in return. Always go for the give. From there, if your customer gives you feedback or a great idea, keep going. "Hey, that's great to hear. Thanks so much for the kind words. If you feel like sharing about your experience, we would love your feedback in the form of an Amazon review." That'll do it every time. When a customer does leave you feedback, screenshot it and post about it on Instagram. Publicly celebrate it. Show the community that you are listening. Your job at this point is to make your customers addicted to giving you feedback. They don't just like your product, they love giving you reviews. They love supporting a company that's so involved in their community. What if I'm stuck at 10 sales per day? You're going to get stuck at times. Some get stuck around 10 sales per day. They launch, get to 25 sales a day, then have a pullback. They start thinking, "I don't know what I'm going to do now." They start worrying about numbers and algorithms and stop being curious about the process and the people behind the purchase. They don't open up customer loops. They don't think, "Who are my people and where are they hanging out?" Instead, they figure, "Well, my product must not be good enough. Guess I better go find another product to launch." They spend all that time stacking the deck, building up an audience for a launch, and then they just walk away because it's not an instant success. Or even worse, they think, "I don't understand. My product is better than everyone else's. It deserves more sales. Why aren't people buying it in droves?" Just because you think your product is better than everyone else on the market doesn't mean it will outsell everyone else. That's not how it works. Any idiot, and I'm not calling you the idiot, can throw a product up for sale on a place like Amazon and start to get 10 sales a day. And that idiot can buy reviews from cheap Chinese accounts until he or she gets caught and banned. Yes, I know people who have done this. It takes the willingness to keep grinding, being in the weeds, and cultivating a following to grow to 25 sales per day and beyond. If you plateau, your temptation is going to be to think bigger. I recommend you do the opposite. Go super micro. Remember my advice to Ken? What can you do this week to get 10 more reviews? What can you do this week to blow a customer away? What can you do this week to motivate your following? Who can you contact this week who might talk about you publicly? I have students who get a bump in sales every time they talk about their product on their own personal Facebook page because they're communicating with a different set of people. They highlight a different feature about the product, or they simply hit people at the right time. Sometimes doing the small things for long enough is all it takes. There are a few things that you can do to turn up your sales. Number 1, use Amazon's pay-per-click platform. Amazon allows you to advertise within its own search results, which is extremely effective and expensive. You may have to spend more money acquiring the customer than you reap in profit, which means you'll be operating at a loss. However, you'll build your review machine, acquire new customers, and continue feeding the algorithm. In this case, it's better to take sales at zero profit than to take no sales at all. 2, run video ads on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you decide to go this route, I recommend starting with customer testimonials as your first test. You can never sell your product better than other customers can. It's fast to test different messages and ads, so test several approaches until one of them clicks. 3, put attention back into building your community. Turn your attention away from sales and instead put it back into your community. Go back to the customer and what they want. Go back to stacking the deck. You can do a relaunch if you feel called to. The important thing is to return to interacting with your potential customers. I have a student, I'll withhold their name for obvious reasons, who is in the pet supplies business. He launched his first product and initially did well, but then he got stuck. He's not his own target demographic, so he doesn't already know the answers to what his customers want. That's okay. You can get past that as long as you're willing to listen closely to your customers. But he stopped caring about the people behind the product, which was his brand's death sentence. He came to me once and asked, "I'm stuck. How do I break out of this?" I asked back, "What are you doing right now?" "I'm focusing on reviews, I have a really good product, and I'm launching more products." "Okay, cool," I said. "Where do your customers hang out so that we can advertise to them?" "No idea," he said. "Well, you might want to start by figuring that out first." He didn't know who his customer was or where they hung out, and he didn't care that he didn't know. He just wanted to sell more stuff. Your people should be the sole focus as you sprint toward 25 sales per day and build your review machine. You want to know who those people are, where you can find them, and how you can create the best products for them. Then, if they love your products and your brand and the experience you've created, maybe they will leave you a review. "But Ryan, what if I've tried everything and my brand still doesn't gain traction?" At this point, some of you are going to be saying, "But I've done all that. I've done all the things and I've done them well, and it still failed to gain traction. Why, Ryan? Why?" Honestly, I can't tell you why, but your customers can. And they will, but you need to ask, "Hey, why do you like this?" And then you need to listen to what they say. I'm working with a company right now, and I happen to be their target market, so they sent me their product. It's a low-calorie fruit powder. It tasted good, looked good, and should have been a good product. But as a customer, I have a big problem. I don't understand how to use their product. It's not that I couldn't figure out how powder works. I just have no idea when I would prefer to use this powder instead of just fruit. I gave this feedback to my contact at the company, and instead of listening, he told me why I was wrong. He gave me a rational, intellectual breakdown of why I, the customer, just didn't understand the product. "Dude," he said emphatically, as though if he just said it another way, I would finally grasp the concept, "it replaces fruit." I still can't figure out why I'd want that. Someday, he'll get it. He'll have a great launch because he's got a big audience. The product will sell. People will be excited to try it, and then it's going to head to the back of their cupboard, where they'll never touch it again. If your product fails to gain traction, despite your steps to do everything right, then it's likely that something went wrong in the initial stages. Entrepreneurs are big thinkers, but they often think too big at this stage in the process. Go back to your customer, to the following. Go back to your customer. Focus on the micro. Maybe you didn't get enough people in one spot. We've talked about needing to create a place that has at least 1,000 followers talking about the product. Maybe you tried one thing on Instagram and something else on Reddit and then a third thing on your YouTube channel. Now you have a lot going on and it might seem like everyone is talking about your product, but you still don't have 1,000 people in one place. I have a student named Michael who sells products for gardeners. During the Stack the Deck phase, Michael went all in on a Facebook group. He doesn't have an Instagram following and he's not on any other platform. He just focused on building up that Facebook group and now has 14,000 gardeners in one place. He can launch whatever he wants and get all the feedback he needs. As a result of that, he can also earn whatever profit he wants. What did he do to get those 14,000 leads? He created a community that was responsive and helpful, and people invited their friends. Now the group grows by hundreds of people each week without him lifting a finger. He promotes his products in cool and ethical ways within the group, and the community rewards him for it. I'm making 25 sales a day. What do I do now? First of all, congratulations. You've built a machine that can support $1 million business. Now what? The answer is to repeat the process. Get ready for launch number 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. In fact, you never really stop repeating the process. You go back to where all of your customers show up and you engage even more. People often ask me, if I do everything right, what percentage of my first launch customers should I expect to come back and be repeat customers? If you did everything right, this answer is easy. All of them. All of those people who love your product and had a great experience with you and your company will come back and buy product number 2. If you do this right, if you create those leads, if you talk to them and listen to them, and do all the people-oriented things we've talked about so far, you can expect return buyers. The process for launch number 2 is just warming up all of those previous customers, so you have an even bigger launch the second time around. In fact, it should be easier now as there's no ramp-up process for product number 2. While you worked hard and put all your time into launching the first product number 2 will come more easily. You're simply engaging more with what the customers who have already purchased from you want. So you can skip the stacking the deck process and double down on the people who are already there. You're on the home stretch, really. Now we sprint to the million. Do you remember Travis and Jenna Ziegler, the optometrists I talked about earlier? Their brand is called I Love, and they did a fantastic job of paying attention to their customers. They do Q&As with their customers and actually listen to the questions and feedback they get. They regularly do Facebook Live events to interact with all of their raving fans as well. Their products have higher price points, but every time they launch a new product, they go from 0 to 50 sales a day within a few weeks. People leave reviews and it snowballs. That focus gave them the machine that now built a multi-million-dollar business. When you finally hit that magic number of 25 sales a day, it's time for you to start building your snowball too. It's time to choose product 2. Next, we'll go into exactly how to do that. Entrepreneur Spotlight, Jason Franciosa. Jason Franciosa was coming off a failed business and searching online for what to do next when one of my ads popped up on his screen. Immediately intrigued, he decided to join my community at capitalism.com. After learning my method, Jason dove right in and launched his company, Element 26. Jason and his business partner, who is a doctor in physical therapy, looked at a bunch of ideas for products, and in the end, they came to exactly where Matt and I had ended up with Sheer Strength. They targeted themselves as the customer. They were both avid weightlifters, but the fastener on their weight belts failed every time. Jason told me it was pretty obvious what product to put out first. They knew that the true key to success with this product would be doing something different. They weren't alone in their struggles with the products they were used to. And when they looked at all the biggest weight belt competitors and read online reviews, the theme of failed Velcro was consistent and clear. They set out to design the best, most functional weightlifting belt possible while solving that main problem. How do you fix the Velcro? They reached out to manufacturers and got a variety of samples. They finally settled on a self-locking buckle, a slide lock that actually supports the pressure of the belt as opposed to the Velcro. When they launched and marketed the product, they focused on the problem their belt would solve. By understanding what their audience was looking for, Jason and his partner centered all of their marketing material on the design difference between their belt and the others. That helped them stand out and eat away at the competition sales while keeping their prices high. It also helped shape their reputation and started to build their brand within the space. Jason attributed a lot of his success to his product being different and in bringing in an obvious improvement to a well-used product in the CrossFit and weightlifting communities. But he also benefited from relationships with influencers. When it comes to influencers, Jason found cold calling ineffective unless you want to pay for a post. He said, the best way to meet people is in person by going to events, shaking their hands, providing some sort of value to the influencer, especially if you can understand what they care about and make a personal connection. Jason said that they have faced some challenges, every entrepreneur does, like the constantly changing Amazon platform, initial design problems, and a change in their packaging. Their new design looks great, but their manufacturer failed to mention that with the new printing process, there'd be an odor. Suddenly, they started getting bad reviews about their product's smell. Despite all the challenges along the way, they went from zero to about $10,000 a month in 2 months. They consistently grew for a year and a half before focusing on launching any new products. Jason and his partner both had full-time jobs when they started the business, so their process dragged out a little bit because they were not 100% working on the business at the start. As a result, it took them a little longer than 12 months to get to their first million. Instead, they were at $1 million in 24 months. Then Jason left his job and started working full-time on the business. He and his partner are finally at the point where they can take an owner's salary. The money is great, he said, but honestly, it's the freedom and all the people I've met and built relationships with. That makes this fulfilling for me. Chapter 9. Step 7. Build $1 million brand. Remember Dave Asprey's fancy coffee? When Dave launched his company, Bulletproof 360, in 2013, it quickly became famous for his recommended morning brew, coffee blended with butter and MCT oil. It was only natural for Dave to launch his own coffee brand of organic, upgraded coffee as his first product. He followed up with his own line of butter and MCT oil, which helped him to establish a steady stream of revenue and raving fans. Had he wanted to have a small, profitable coffee company, he could have stopped there. But Dave desired to be more than a coffee company. He had his sights on becoming the go-to source for upgraded performance. Over the next few years, Dave would release everything from supplements to sleep induction mats to a whole body vibe to a $15,000 5-day retreat. Of course, it would have been impossible for Bulletproof to do this right out of the gate. They had to crawl before they could run. But with a raving fan base that supports all of his products, Bulletproof has the ability to release whatever products Dave is inspired to create. Just like Bulletproof, your brand will be defined by the products that you release. Your first product was your gateway. It made it easy for your audience to start their journey and to choose you as their guide. But to create a real brand, your follow-up products must lead the customer to the next stage of their journey. These follow-up products will ultimately define what your company becomes. They will also lead you to cross your first million. Stage 3, the gold. When our first sheer strength product hit 25 sales a day, Matt and I were beside ourselves. It was a major milestone. At the same time, we knew it was just the beginning. If we were going to build $1 million business, our math told us that At our price point, we would have to sell 4 products at 25 sales a day to get there. After hitting 25 sales each day consistently, our product leveled off. You're always going to hit a plateau. Luckily, that plateau is a milestone itself. That's when you know it's time to release your second product. After we released product 2, sales started to climb quickly, much faster than they did with the first product, because we already had a built-in audience of customers willing to try our second product. In fact, our second product started outselling product number 1 within just a few weeks. Then something weird happened. Once the second product hit 25 sales a day, the first product jumped from its plateau and began doing 50 sales a day. Sales that were previously flat had now doubled. The second product actually bumped up the first product. Previously, we had feared that the 2 products might take sales away from each other, but they were actually feeding one another. Why did this happen? Well, there were a couple factors at play. First, we had repeat customers coming back for more and buying more product. Second, customers buying them together as a bundle. They saw that we offered 2 products, so they just bought both. There was a network effect, a sort of natural referral process happening. And finally, some people had followed us during launch, but they hadn't purchased. They were following the journey, and when they saw us release more products, they joined our fold by placing orders. Beyond that, 2 products started to juice up Amazon's internal marketing machine. The algorithm was working for us, introducing people who were interested in one of our products to the other one. Potential buyers would see these 2 products are frequently bought together, and customers who saw this also saw this. We thought we had hit the peak at 25 sales a day. We thought that we were already at the top of the market. We were wrong. That product quickly bumped to 50 sales per day and then more. By the time we sold the company, that same product was doing more than 300 sales per day. This is the snowball effect. Product 2's launch is boosted by the success of product number 1, and then sales from product 2 also bounce back and boost the first product as well. Back and forth, snowballing into more sales and greater profits. This is why this stage of the process is called the gold. It's when your hard work finally starts to pay off. It's when sales start to increase exponentially, and every product you release creates a multiplier effect. New customers start to find you organically, and the million is so close that you can smell it. You have proven that you can take a product to 25 sales per day, and now you need to do it a few more times. Remember the formula: 4 products at 25 sales per day is $1 million business. Your task is simple. Release more products as quickly as you can comfortably handle without getting distracted. From one-to-one to one-to-many. My mentor, Travis, once told me something that most people don't realize. Everything you're doing in business is really just audience building. When you release that first product, you're building an audience of customers. You have to do all the things we previously talked about. Build relationships, reach out to influencers, and kill them with kindness until they voluntarily give you feedback and reviews. When you release the second product, your audience is already primed and responsive, and they will reward you. They bought from you once, and they are likely to do so again. At this point, your systems start to break because you are the systems. Even the most well-intentioned business owners may have trouble keeping up with the number of customer inquiries, the comments, and the number of customers coming in the door. That forces you to make some changes. You want to continue doing all that outreach you were doing pre-launch and continue to build up your customer base, but now, instead of talking to people one-on-one, you're talking to many people at the same time. You're engaging with an audience and still building those same connections, but now you're doing it at scale. You're talking to an audience as a whole rather than to each person individually. In addition, you now have a network of fans that can help you with promotion. If you haven't already, start taking screenshots of positive reviews and share them with your audience, or get customers to do video testimonials and run them as ads on Facebook. Every customer testimonial can be used as content for your audience, and every post of someone holding your product or making a video review can become an ad or a social media post. Your customers are creating social proof on your behalf, rather than you having to create it all from scratch. Using it at scale is powerful. Every influencer that you previously connected with is watching your growth. If your first launch went well and you're getting positive reviews, then it validates other people's decision to take a chance on you. Take advantage of those networks. People are highly influenced by others, so continue to share positive reviews, glowing emails, and every ounce of publicity you receive. All this will feed the pre-launch machine to set up your second product to be a hit. Remember, the more external traffic and sales you can send to Amazon, Kickstarter, Walmart, your Shopify store, or wherever else you're taking orders, the more that those big machines reward you. It's more important than ever to continue to document the build out of your company, talk about the decisions that you make of a team, and keep the attention of your followers and your customers. Developing product number 2. Choosing what to roll out for your second product should be an easy decision, but many people screw it up. The biggest mistake people make is trying to pursue a second niche market with their next product. Your second product is always the answer to this question: what's the next thing that my first customer would want to buy? To know this, we go back to the group of products your customer already buys. If you don't know what your customers want next, then you entered the wrong business, or you got so wrapped up in your first launch that you lost sight of the brand. That's why it was so important to identify 3 to 5 products that your ideal person might want to buy. If you've been doing the work, you already have a list from which to choose. The order of products flowed naturally within my yoga business. Our gateway product was a yoga mat. What's the next thing that they would want to buy? We put out a yoga towel. We followed that with a yoga block, then a foam roller. We could have kept going, but parties interested in acquiring us came knocking on our door and we sold the company. Many people are tempted to follow their first product up with additional colors or add-ons or sizes. That's all fine, but it's not a second product. Accessories are not new products. They create incremental gains at best. It's important not to waste a good product launch by releasing a 1A version of your product. Your second product should create as much buzz as the first, or you won't get that multiplier effect that can double your company's sales. Think of it this way. Your customer is on a journey. They are the hero in their decision to lose weight or become an author or be more eco-conscious. Your job is to make it easier for them to overcome the challenges that they will have along the way. Supplemental products do not help them overcome their challenges. They just help them consume your first product. Consider a laptop. When you buy one, you have the option to purchase all sorts of accessories like a case or a keyboard cover. They are supplementary products, not new concepts. Apple would have a hard time being a $1 trillion company if they only sold one product and add-ons. Selling incremental changes doesn't get people lining up at the door, waiting for your next product to go live. What kind of company are you? Your second product can define the type of company you will be for the next year. Recall that Onnit set out to be more than a brain supplement company and Bulletproof more than a coffee company. As a result, both had to change their product lineups as quickly as possible. If you get stuck releasing products that are too similar to your first, you might start to get pigeonholed. You might plateau and end up being smaller than you'd like to be. That's why it's important now to decide what type of company you want to be. If you did your job at the very start and you understand your customer, then this part should be easy. Your company exists to help your ideal person along his or her journey. My friends Catherine and Alan had tremendous success when they released their best self journal. It took off like a lightning bolt, selling millions of dollars worth of product. But when it was time to come up with the second product, they struggled. How do you follow up a first ever at bat home run? They were already selling inserts and cases for their journals. Those are supplemental products. But they didn't know what their second killer product would be to release. One day when we were chatting, I asked them a question. What kind of business do you want to be? If they were a journaling company, then their next product would be simple. More journals, fancy pens, and well, that would be about it. But I had a hunch that they wanted to be something different. After a while, they hit on the answer. It's not about journaling, it's about productivity. That realization opened up a whole new realm of ideas. Instead of just selling journals, their job was to develop products that help their customers be more productive. Shortly after, they released their second product called Tempo, the world's first adjustable hourglass designed to help you organize your time and stay focused. And it happened to be a beautiful object to look at too. It's the tool that fits perfectly with Best Self's overarching brand concept and aesthetic. That made them more than a journal company. Second product pitfalls. It's rare for a second product to hurt you, but I have seen entrepreneurs release new products that, for whatever reason, never really took off. If you've done the work to build an audience, it's extremely rare to have this happen on a first product, but it could happen on a second product if it doesn't live up to expectations. Or if your second product doesn't bring your customer further along their journey, then they're unlikely to line up as eagerly as they did for your first product. Many times when entrepreneurs launch their first product, they're still trying to find their voice as a business. Sometimes that voice and identity changes. It's not uncommon for people to be targeting one audience and find that the raving fans are a different demographic than they expected, which happens when they either don't know their audience or their interests change. I can't count the number of entrepreneurs who had a successful first product only to realize they had no passion for the audience they targeted. When that happens, go back to redefining your ideal person. One of my students, Jonathan, came to me when he was selling about $1 million per year in makeup bags. He had done something extremely special, created fantastic products that people absolutely loved, and he crossed $1 million in sales. He was also miserable. Jonathan joined the back room, which is my small group of mentoring students, some of whom I personally invest in. As a result, we spent many hours talking about his business and what he wanted to accomplish. He had no interest in selling more makeup bags. His plan was to grow the company a little bit more, sell it, and move on. But I noticed something interesting about Jonathan. He lit up like a Christmas tree when he talked about new ideas. He came to life when he talked about the suitcase he wanted to launch or the journals that he wanted to create to help people achieve their goals. He even enjoyed talking about his ideas for creating and selling closet organizers. One day, I found the thread in his thinking when I asked him, "Jonathan, what gets you excited about all of these new products?" He sighed, I guess I just want to help people declutter their chaotic brains." That was it. It wasn't about makeup bags or suitcases. It wasn't about the product at all. His brand was about the results that his products created, decluttering his customers' chaotic brains. Jonathan's brilliant design was the thing people loved about his makeup bags. The bags had a special place for everything, and the suitcases he had been designing made it simple for you to remember to pack everything. They had a special place for each item, which made it easy for you to pack for your next trip. The closet organizers that he had been sketching followed the same idea. It was like each product took a little bit of your crazy neuroticism and put it into a nicely organized place. I got excited as I realized his target customer wasn't just women with messy purses, but also me. I would love to have a suitcase that was so well organized that it made my life just a little bit simpler. If Jonathan had kept releasing more and more makeup bags, he would have always been a makeup bag company. But once he identified what he wanted his company to be, he realized he had something much more. His brand existed to organize the chaotic world. That set off a tidal wave of product ideas. When you identify exactly what you want your company to be about, then your job becomes simply developing the products that make it easy for your customers to carry out their journeys. You may not hit a home run every time, but each product will serve a purpose within your brand. Deciding what to sell next is important, but it's even more important to decide when to release it. It's common to release products too quickly without giving the customer time to breathe. Speaking on stage is one of my favorite things to do, and I love to do Q&A after a live talk. Once during the Q&A session at SellerCon, a conference for Amazon sellers, one attendee asked, "I'm launching 10 products right now. What would be your suggestion on how to do that without overwhelming my audience?" "Simple," I said. "You don't. You can't. Your audience will absolutely be overwhelmed. Don't do that. Sell one at a time." He pushed against me, but I stood firm. "Don't launch 10 products at the same time. Launch one. You will make more money and maintain more momentum. To get the snowball going, you need to reach 25 sales a day, and it's difficult to do that when you're watching and pushing 10 products. It's also just poor optics. 10 products on Amazon with only a handful reviews is not as powerful or trustworthy as one product with lots of glowing reviews. Do one thing extremely well, and then do it again." Competition and unique value. I consult with a lot of businesses that have released a successful first product and don't know what to do next. This is often because instead of trying to serve their customer base, they are getting hung up on analytics and surface level metrics. When Matt and I launched Sheer Strength, there were no product research tools that estimated how much money a product would make on Amazon. I believe this ignorance was a strategic advantage for us. I can't tell you how many times an entrepreneur had a successful first product, but then struggled to act on releasing the second product because the data scared them. Don't fall into the trap of making decisions based on volume or trying to get a piece of someone else's action. Do what's best for your own business and your customers. There are enough slices of pie for everybody. You don't need to dominate a market. You just need to get each product to at least 25 sales a day. And remember, always default to serving the customer and let the numbers fall where they fall. When I asked Tom Bilyeu, the founder of Quest Nutrition, about competition, he shared a unique perspective. Quest bars were the first of their kind to hit the market, and their product was an immediate hit. But within a few years, there were so many other paleo, low-carb protein bars on the market that it was hard to keep them all straight. Tom told me that when you bring a new product to market, you have about 18 months before people start copying you. He said, enjoy the honeymoon phase, but never forget that they're coming for you. The solution is to constantly be innovating and staying one step ahead. In many cases, competition can actually benefit your brand by building awareness. When yoga was just a small niche a few decades ago, more brands on the scene benefited everybody because it created awareness of the practice and got more people interested. If Dr. Oz came out with a supplement that I already sold, I would be pumped. He would bring in a huge audience of people already primed to see the value of that product. A lot of them might buy it from him, but some of them would buy mine. Keep in mind that the company that you think you're competing with may end up acquiring you. Do your thing and let them do theirs. If other people invade your space, keep innovating and keep serving your customers. At the same time, be open to collaboration or competition, cooperative competition, or collaborative capitalism, as I like to think about it. After all, you're both spreading the same message. Tom put it well. Our company mission isn't to make protein bars, he said. Our mission is to end metabolic disease. And if another company comes along that does it better than us, we would support them. A few brands that I advise have similar but not duplicate products in the same space. They will often cross-promote their non-competing products to each other's audiences. Their audiences benefit, and both companies see a boost in sales. Customers will switch products, but they don't often switch brands. A brand is outsourced trust. It's an expensive risk to try something new, which is why it's so hard to get a business off the ground. Once you build that trust and validation, people will continue to buy from you. Someone else promoting awareness about your products only helps your brand. Stay in your lane and don't let their decisions determine where you go as a company. The big picture. Brands do well when one product puts them on the map, and its success leads to future purchases. Most of the brands that we love have one flagship product, and it paves the way for future products. People come to you for your best self journal, your bulletproof coffee, or your Quest bars. While they're looking around at your brand, they end up buying other stuff you sell. This is partially why audience is so important. The ability to put firepower behind each product launch is invaluable. However, your hero product, the flagship your brand becomes known for, may not be the first product you release, or even the second. I've seen examples in which the first product did fine, the second did fine, but then the third just took off. It's impossible to know which product will most resonate. Always keep in mind your central goal, to build $1 million business in 1 year. To do this, you need 4 products selling 25 sales a day at a $30 price point. That's it. Your only goal after launch is to get to 25 sales a day, which unlocks the next product, which then unlocks the next. Keep focusing on that momentum, and the snowball will roll all the way down the hill. Entrepreneur Spotlight, Paul Miller. Paul Miller started his business, Cozy Phones, from absolutely zero. A previous business failure had left him completely broke, and he was healing from a major physical injury. In a moment of desperation, Paul threw his hat at one more business attempt. 4 years in, Cozy Phones did $6 million in sales. Honestly, your videos changed my life, Paul told me recently. I never would have started without that blueprint, and I never would have made it to where I am now. Years ago, Paul had used sleeping headphones, a soft headband with headphone speakers inside. He used to listen to podcasts when he couldn't sleep. One of those podcasts was mine. But the headphones weren't well made and often broke. As he was looking for new ones one day, an idea came to him. I could make these better myself. He found generic sleeping headphones and ordered a small batch of them. Then he set to work tweaking the product, making the sound quality better, adding more colors and patterns, and improving the build quality. He put the product up on Amazon, and it took off. But this wasn't the real genesis of Cozy Phones, at least not where revenue is concerned. The biggest inspiration for his product came while Paul was doing a product photo shoot. The photographer put his headphones on her little 10-year-old. That was my moment of revelation, Paul said. I thought, wow, this could be good for kids. They're comfortable, kids can lay down with them, they stay in place, and they're great for travel. But I knew kids would want more than just the typical colors. I thought of what my kids would want, and the wheels really started turning. His daughter helped him create his first design, a green frog version of Cozy Phones. It took off even faster than the original product he'd put on Amazon. Little kids don't like earbuds or big, bulky headphones, he said. In addition to being comfortable, Cozy Phones are volume limited, so it's safe for their ears. Kids love them, and parents love them too. Discovering this niche market made all the difference, and Paul ran with it, creating a bunch of animal themes: unicorns, bunnies, foxes, and cats. Then, out of nowhere, Paul's product took off with an audience he'd never expected. Cozy Phones were a hit with kids with autism and sensory processing disorder, or SPD. At the time, Paul didn't even know about SPD. When he realized the benefit, he started joining Facebook groups for autism and SPD and offering free samples. He asked families to use his products with their kids and give him feedback. The thanks from the parents of those kids felt incredible, Paul said. I felt like I wasn't just selling stuff, I was helping families. Cozy Phones still sells a lot of adult sleep headphones and continues to expand this category, as well with Bluetooth and different styles and colors. But expanding into the child audience made all the difference. The next big step was moving into licensing. Paul now works with Nickelodeon. Cozy Phones makes exclusive character headbands with Paw Patrol, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and other franchises. The worst obstacle? Copycats, he said. From day one, they were there. 100 popped up overnight selling my exact product. As a result, he has a patent pending on Cozy Phones. When he gets his patent issued, he plans to deal with the competitors. Right now, he's just innovating, always trying to make it a little bit better than the others. Paul believes it's critical to get out of your tunnel vision of how a product could be effective. I had no idea where my product was going to be a hit, and I was really surprised by the ways people use their cozy phones. I never would have imagined the audiences I reach, Paul said. He suggests trying to think outside of the box in terms of audience for the product. Can you modify the product and make it work for different groups? For example, he's recently created a sweat-wicking cozy phones headband for runners. Paul scaled up quickly, and he plans to keep scaling with the licensing relationships he's built. I thought in the beginning, being $1 million business would be amazing, he said. I believed it was possible, but I'd never dreamed that within 3 years, I'd do over $4.5 million, all while still working from home. Chapter 10. Step 8. Getting to $100,000 per month and beyond. Building $1 million business in 12 months is a great accomplishment. It's like a rite of passage. I'm proud to have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs hit that goal. But two of my friends, Josh Bizzoni and Joel Marion, make that accomplishment look like chump change. When they started BioTrust, they set out to create a health and fitness company that would leverage the relationships that they had built over the years, allowing them to serve their customers in a way no one else was. They didn't do $1 million in sales in their first year, however. They did more than $100 million in their first 12 months. Their small team did not use Amazon or retail stores or any of the traditional ways of marketing either. They took all of their orders on their own website, and most of their customers came from old-fashioned email marketing. I invited Joel to the stage at the Capitalism Conference and asked him the obvious question: how the heck did you do that? Joel's answer was simple and unsexy. It also flew in the face of every piece of advice that most business owners follow. His secret to hitting $100 million in just 12 months? Be willing to lose money. He said, if I know that I'm going to make $30 from a customer after 90 days, then I'm willing to spend $25 up front to acquire them and nurture them. Most people would give up if they didn't make money within 30 days, he said. But he looks at the long-term relationship with a customer rather than the short-term. If you know that you can get the numbers to where they need to be over the long term, then it's okay to lose in the short term. Most of the entrepreneurs that I know have a serious fear of losing money in the short term. If they can't spend $1 to make $2 right away, then they fear loss, bankruptcy, and certain death. But if you know a customer is going to stay with you for the long run, then it makes sense to lose in the short term. That's how Michael Dubin acquired so many customers for Dollar Shave Club. And that's how Joel and Josh built BioTrust. If you want to build something, you must be willing to actively acquire customers. Joel said, if I can spend more money to acquire a customer than my competition, then I'm going to win every single time. Marketing, like everything else, is building a committed relationship. But most people see it like a one-night stand. Back when I was really trying to break into the entrepreneurial circuit, I went to an event for a bunch of internet marketers. There was this guy there, and he was a really prominent information marketer, and he was flapping his gums about how well he was doing. Other people crowded around to listen, and they were listening to him bask in his infinite wisdom. I was there too, but I elbowed my way to the front of the group so I could piece together his strategy. Look, he said, the way it works is there's 8 of us. We each have email lists, and we take turns saying, who's up? And when you're up, I'll promote for you. When we get you to the top of the rankings, you rake in the dough, and then we move on to the next person. I nodded in fake approval. So it's basically a big circle jerk. Other people laughed, and he just looked at me over his drink. Yep, basically. I was pretty sure right then and there that that was not the business that I wanted to be in. But it did teach me a valuable lesson. If you have access to the people who control the audience, you can make any product win. Smart entrepreneurs put their money into customer acquisition and building a long-term relationship with them. If a customer stays happy, he or she will continue to pay you money over a long time. This type of thinking doesn't make sense if you only sell yoga mats or just one product of any kind. If you spend $30 to sell a $30 yoga mat, you're not going to make much money. But if you have yoga blocks, yoga towels, mats, teas, clothes, meditation cushions, then you will happily spend $30 to acquire a $30 customer because they eventually come back and buy more. When you have several products in your arsenal, it's time to start thinking like this. Doing this separates you from the rest of the pack fast. When you can create your own exposure, you can launch product after product, putting you at seven-figure status in no time. That's why this stage is called the gold. Everybody needs